to Nasty Knuckles, the Hockey Outlaws podcast, with your hosts, Derek Nasty Settlemyre and former Philadelphia Flyer enforcer Riley Cote, as they go behind the scenes with your favorite NHL players. This week's guest is two-way power forward for the Philadelphia Flyers, Hollywood Kevin Hayes. Time to face off.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Nasty Knuckles. What is happening, Nast?
What's up, Riggs? Just got finished with another men's league game, brand new season. I know you know about the championship last week, but starting off 1-0, big overtime win tonight. But more importantly, what a week, man. Hockey's back. It's awesome.
Back. It's been exciting to see. And the Flyers are, 2-0 and sitting at number 3 in the league. I know it's early, but it's exciting to watch them play. Young energy and a lot of positives coming out of those two games, especially against the Pens.
Yeah, it's nice you got your rivals coming in here and I mean, God, the guys played great. I know a little hiccup in the second period, maybe the other day, letting them back into the game. But
it happens.
It happens to everyone. People always say, "Oh, how do they do that?" I'm like, you get up 3-0, Riles, you played like
a little loose.
Yeah. I mean, you get a little loose, let them back in, and then you put the foot on the gas and what a start by the boys, like starting 2-0. That's, a lot of teams don't. Flyers have done it, I think, now 2 years in a row. I think there was a stat like that I saw. I know last year we did, and then this year it's a great start, man. It's fun to watch them play, like the depth of this team. I know we talked about it, all four lines. I mean, it's dangerous. They're just a dangerous team.
Yeah, teams are going to have a hard time defending against their offense throughout the year. I mean, they got so many layers of scoring, and the young guys are proving to be go-to guys, and the depth of the forwards is insane. When you got these young guys coming in that hadn't played last year and really contributing offensively. And then obviously guys that were here last year are picking up where they left off. I mean, TK is on fire. Obviously a guy like Joel Farabee's putting up some numbers. Lindblom, I mean, a lot of these guys, I think of all the forwards have put up at least 1 point in 2 games. So, I mean, that's showing, that really broad, consistent offensive punch. So it's nice to see. And then you got the goaltending, obviously, and the defense core. So I mean, it's a really nice team to watch, and I'm excited to see where this thing goes this year, because I was optimistic going in, and from what I've seen, so I know it's 2 games. I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but it's impressive.
It really is. It's hard not to be excited though watching them. I mean, like you said, the depth, and Beezer coming out with his 4 points, and we talked about last week having Patty and Oscar back in your lineup full time. Now it's like 2 free agents, and what happens? They both, Oscar's got 2 goals, like you said. Patty's got a point a game. It's awesome. It's fun to watch. Both power plays are just buzzing too, right? Like snapping the puck around. I thought that was fun. I mean, it's almost like they're going to score every time. You don't want to jinx them. Obviously you're never going to score every time, but it's fun watching their power plays. I mean, Gustafson, obviously new guy coming in, throwing it, just an easy, simple play, throwing it to the net. Like, coaches always tell you, get it to the net, and guys are there banging them in, tips, everything. So like you said, it's you don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but hey man, you start 2-0, it's exciting.
It's a streak.
Yeah. Right.
Question. Yeah. But they're buzzing. They got a good energy, some good chemistry. It's very visible. I see them to be a force to be reckoned with throughout the league. I mean, I don't see this just to be, a 2-game, surge, and then they're going to drop off. Like I feel like teams are going to really struggle playing the Flyers all year. They're just a perfectly balanced team as it looks right now. So lots to look forward to in the orange and black for sure.
Yeah, for sure. They wanted to bring up our buddy Jake Voracek
Oh,
as a player, like obviously I've never dealt with that. I've seen things happen, but it's hard not to get a chuckle out of it. If you know Jakey, he speaks his mind no matter what.
yep.
It could be the president of the league. It could be a pigeon like me, an equipment guy. He's just going to tell you what he thinks, but it was pretty comical. TK made it a little more comical with the look. I got a couple laughs out of it, but what do you think as a player? Like it's probably frustrating when that happens.
You know what? I don't know the backstory exactly of, why Jake was, was put off by the question, but obviously there was a storyline there where he felt like he was done wrong. So like you said, like Jake, he's going to say what he feels. And unfortunately, things like that do happen, post game and within the media. And, there has to be this mutual respect, obviously. But if guys feel like they've been done wrongly, then they hold this grudge, and I think you've seen it there. But I don't know the backstory to what happened there. But TK certainly, I don't know how he pulled it together. I said to you earlier, like it looked like he wanted to spit out his water, but he also wanted to play it cool and act like this is just like normal. This is like normal stuff happens. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a long year if you're going to, hold the grudge and let it be like that. But, maybe he's just proving a point and trying to let him know that, we need honest reporting if that's what it was. And, that's all we expect anyways, as players. So
right.
It was a funny thing to wake up to the next morning. I didn't get a clip till the next morning and I was just dying. I mean, you sent it to me, I was in tears because, he first didn't want to answer it. Then he answers it. Then he tells him why he didn't answer it. And it's so Jake. It was like a perfectly.
Yeah. It's so Jake. It was exactly right. Oh man. Couple things, obviously lots of games. It's so exciting. We got hockey every day, which is awesome. Connor McDavid's goals the other night.
Oh my God. He's insane.
I mean, everybody knows it, but McJesus.
He's a freak of nature in the hockey sport.
Yeah. I mean,
insane.
The goal where we were talking about that, I mean, they probably were all highlight goals. Usually most of his are, but the drop pass and he comes flying through the zone. I mean, like, what do you do? Like, what do you do?
And not a whole lot. You just hope that you somehow move into his lane, I think that's just like, and just slow him down somehow. But the forward that front line of forwards on the PK there were blown by. There was no chance that they were doing anything. And then the defenseman standing there, flat footed, and there's not much either. I mean, and the guy can cut in on a dime. So I mean,
it's crazy.
I was so watch. I mean, it's insane.
It's so fun. I know. I was telling you earlier, like I feel so lucky to have been on the bench for so many games, but being able to see him the last few years was, I mean, you watch him on TV and people are like, oh my God, when you're there, I mean, and you see him doing it, it's almost unbelievable the speed he's moving at and the plays he makes. I would be afraid to go that fast. I mean, I'm pretty close.
Oh my!
But I would be afraid to go that fast. Seriously.
Yeah. Well, it's just a different dimension of speed. I mean, all NHL players are fast, right? But it's another gear. It's like it's a different league of speed, and he has the ability of slowing down and then accelerating extremely fast. That change up of speed is insane. So, yeah, man, fun to watch. No question. So, I expect to be, following him the rest of the season and seeing the highlight reels that pop up probably every other night, I'm sure. So,
all right, Riggs, let's get into our interview with Kevin Hayes, Mr. Hollywood, and it is brought to you by DraftKings. While the holiday season may be over, the sports calendar is in full swing this week. From collegiate to professional sports, there's no shortage of action, and there's no better place to get in on all of this action than with DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. If you haven't tried out DraftKings Sportsbook, what are you waiting for? To celebrate this year's football playoffs, DraftKings is giving all new users the chance to bet on any of this weekend's professional football games at 100-1 odds. That's right. All you have to do is bet $1 on any football game this weekend, and if your team wins, you cash in $100. While we are all excited for football, let's not forget the 2021 hockey season is in full swing now. So head over to the app, check out all of DraftKings daily odd boost to help you make it rain. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable, making it easy for you to deposit and withdraw your money at your convenience. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code KNUCKLES when you sign up to get 100-to-1 odds on any football game this weekend. That's code KNUCKLES for new players to get a shot at $100 on any football action this weekend. For a limited time, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITHIT. That's 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
Welcome back to Nasty Knuckles. I'm Riley Cote.
I'm Derek Settlemyre. Thanks for joining us. Today we have an unbelievable guest, just an absolute great guy. I like to call him Hollywood, Kevin Hayes. Thanks for coming, bro.
Of course. I didn't have the nickname Hollywood for about 6 years of my life until I met Nasty. I thought it was in the back burner, but I show up to Philly and all of a sudden Hollywood's back, and it's officially been my name in Philadelphia. So thank you.
Oh yeah, man.
Not
I
a
love
bad
it.
name.
I just like saying it.
Yeah, right. It's a
I
great
just
name.
like saying it every time I see him. Hollywood.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
So it originated when I was like way younger. When you're younger playing in all these tournaments, my dad had me playing for like 6-7 teams. Like literally 8 a.m., 10 a.m., noon, 2, 4, eat sometimes. And I played for the St. Moritz Devils, and it was all this red gear, like red helmet, red gloves, red pants. And so every team, no matter the colors, I kept my gear, so it just would look horrible. And I wore number 99.
oh,
And I remember I walked into the locker room with this guy, Mark Adams, was our coach. And I'm like, you guys don't mind if you call me Hollywood, right? And I was like 8 years old. And literally from like 8 to
Wow.
that's
8 to
awesome.
15, my nickname around like Boston and all those teams was Hollywood. And then it wasn't Hollywood anymore because I started to stink at hockey.
Yeah.
But Nasty knows someone that works in the league that I knew when I was younger when that was my nickname, and he works for the Devils. And he must have told you, right?
Frosty.
Yeah. he
Yeah,
had
my
to-
man.
He had
Chris
to have told you that was
Scopetto.
my nickname. So I played 5 years in New York, nickname Hazy or whatever.
Yeah.
And I show up to Philly. He starts calling me Hollywood. I haven't even met him before. And I'm like,
Oh, no
how
way.
the hell does this guy know that my nickname when I was younger is Hollywood?
I was
and-
thinking it was coming from the Rangers, let alone
No,
from
I
8
wish.
years old.
And literally I show up and it's on all my gear, like all my
No way. That's
like
great.
gitch and stuff.
I had a
And,
great picture of you. You're
yeah,
he's doing an interview,
exactly.
and it's from behind, and you see on his thing it says Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. thing.
So it worked out, and then I started scoring goals at home games, and on the jumbotron it just says "Welcome to Hollywood," and my
No
face
way,
is
that's so
there.
cool.
That's awesome. That's
Uh,
so cool. You talk about you being a kid and everything. So growing up, playing obviously hockey there, and you have some family that's a lot of hockey,
Yeah.
involved there.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Fitzy and
Yeah, so my 2 cousins are Keith Kachuk and Tommy Fitzgerald, and they have kids that are a little younger than me and my brother. But it's been hockey our whole entire life. Like growing up, everyone's like, "Oh, you're a big Bruins fan." I'm like, "Not really. I love Jumbo Thornton and stuff, but like we weren't really the biggest Bruins fans because every time that the Blues or the Coyotes or whatever team Fitzy was on, he played for a bunch of teams, came into town, my dad would take whatever class I was in, our whole hockey team, and we would miss school and just go watch this team practice, whether it was at like BU or Northeastern, and we'd all be sitting down there with the books for everyone to sign. and
Oh, that's
That
awesome.
must have
these
been
guys,
unreal
it
as
was
a kid,
unbelievable,
man.
but these
Yeah.
guys probably saw me for like, if Keith was on a team for more than 5-6 years, the guys were probably like, all right, this kid, how many autographs can this fucking kid get? Like
Him
holy
again.
shit. But I was the cool kid in class. My dad would
I
always get
bet.
the bus and bring us to practice and stuff. So yeah, like we grew up just adoring Kachuk and Fitzgerald. My whole life I wanted to be just like them, and it's fun now because now me and my brother were in the NHL and their kids are in the NHL,
Yeah,
AHL,
it's
really good
crazy.
players.
Yeah.
And we would always, Keith has a Cape house and we have a Cape house as well. So every year, like we would just go down to Keith's house and have a wiffle ball tournament. And like thinking back then, like there was 8 to 9 NHL players playing in that wiffle ball tournament
Yeah,
that
right.
Yeah,
have come through
it's crazy.
times and all playing the NHL now. So it's really cool. It's fun to kind of we won't play him this year, but to see Matthew and Brady and kind of no one really realizes that we're cousins and stuff. But it's really cool to know that these are the kids when I was younger. They looked up to me and my brother, thinking that we were awesome because we were first round draft picks, second round draft picks, playing for BC. And Keith's kids wouldn't even listen to Keith because he was a fourth liner.
Yeah, that's so funny.
He's
hey?
a Hall of Famer, and
Right.
and he's asking us, "Hey, tell Matthew this, tell Brady this." I'm like, "Dude, you were a Hall of Fame player." Like, but at that time, that's how kids work. Whatever you see in front of you on TV is who you listen to, and
Yeah.
it's just really cool to kind of. I remember when I was leaving college, deciding where I wanted to play, I called Keith and Tommy, and hey, what do you guys think? And Matthew and Brady had an easier road, but yeah, it's just a really cool whole situation in the family.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, it's awesome. I had Fitzy in Florida. My very first year was 93, 94, the inaugural year with the Panthers.
he was the captain, right?
He was one of them.
One
He
of
was
them,
one, yeah.
okay.
Brian Scrutman was the captain.
Yeah.
But I just always laughed at Fitzy, and we used to kind of make fun of him like he was kind of cheap, you know. But I mean,
Yeah.
this is back, but
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about that because it's my first year in hockey. You
Yeah,
guys
right.
be like, "Oh, he's cheap," or "This guy's cheap," you know, whatever the
Yeah.
chirps you get. And I didn't understand him yet, but I loved him. I thought he was funny, and I loved his accent. I just thought I had never really been around anyone from Boston or whatever. So anyway, I meet Kachuk. He's like 19 that year, I think, somewhere around there, but he's a captain in Winnipeg. And
Opposite personalities.
oh my God.
Yeah.
And his actually, I believe Walt's dad was there. It was either Tom's or Walt's. I think it was Walt's dad. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But a few years later, like I'm with the Flyers now, and Fitzy's playing. God, where else did he play? He played Nashville.
Toronto,
Yeah. So he
Boston.
came in, and it's been like 6 years. So my old man, my dad, Sudsy was a head equipment guy when I started in Florida, and no one had team shoes back then. So my dad's like, we got to get these team shoes. So he's ordering these shoes, and they come back, and they're awful. They're those Reeboks that you might actually see people wear now. You know that you're like,
Yeah.
those are old school, but these things were like not even canvas. They were awful. I don't know, but guys are wearing them. A few years later, Fitzy still got them on. It's like 7 years. I'm like, oh, that's what they mean by cheap. Like, these guys got these shoes.
Yeah.
They were
makes sense
they were
now.
white, which is terrible idea, you know, at the
Yeah.
rink. And he still had them. They were like a light brown at
Yeah,
this
right,
point. But
exactly.
I always laughed at
Yeah.
Fitzy. Now he's
Yeah.
GM. He's
Yeah.
doing awesome, man. It's really cool to see. But it's interesting that your family, you know, you have so much hockey in your
Yeah.
family there. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Weddings and family
Oh, I
parties.
can
are
imagine.
my
hey, that
God.
must be a
Oh.
blast.
My brother got married a couple of years ago on Cape Cod, and you know, like you have the welcome party, and we all think that we can have some fun. Our whole group of friends, like, oh, no one's gonna outdrink us. We're more fun than everyone else. And Thursday night comes around, and it's like 2 a.m. The bar is closed, and we're kind of like, oh, what should we do? We're like, oh, big day tomorrow. We'll probably just go to bed and get up early, play golf or whatever. All the Kachucks, all the Fitzies are still just ramping it up.
Yeah,
My
right.
They're
buddies
just
are
getting
like-
going.
My buddies are like, what the hell is going on here? Like, these guys are insane.
That's awesome.
That's good times. Being around pros like that your whole life, when did you realize like you were destined to play in the NHL?
Yeah, probably later than most actually. I didn't take hockey that serious growing up. I did when I was younger, when I was like really, really good. Because when you're younger,
That was when you're Hollywood.
Yeah, exactly. When everyone,
Yeah.
you show up to a rink and everyone's like, "Oh my god, that's that Hayes kid." And like,
Right.
as a kid, that's the coolest feeling ever. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna make it to the NHL." And I remember when I was in school, one of my English teachers sent a note home to my parents and was like, "You got to stop filling this kid's brain with like nonsense and telling him he's going to the NHL. He writes every single paper about going to the NHL. Like, you guys got to stop. He ain't going to the NHL." And it's funny
The
because
teacher says
yeah,
that. Oh, wow.
and it's funny because she still like sends me messages being like, "I cannot believe where you are. Like,
Come on.
this is
That's
insane.
awesome.
Like, I'm so happy for you." But then like high school came around and I like started to like decline a little bit. Like, couldn't really skate. Was probably a little bit overweight, and like I just wasn't as good anymore. And as a kid, that's tough to. I was so high up on everyone's
Right,
list, and then all of a
right.
sudden I'm not that good. And then my junior year is the year I got drafted, and I had a really good year, and I went in the first round. I didn't think I was going to go in the first round, and I did. But even then, I'm like, yeah, hockey's fun, but I'd rather chase broads and do all the other fun stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I never got to go on spring break because my dad was always like, "You're playing in this tournament every
Right,
year.
yeah.
Too bad, it's
The
in March."
sacrifices,
Yeah, and then I went to college. I was like the first round draft pick that went to school a year early. I skipped my senior year of high school and just went right into college. My brother was there. I was playing with my brother and Chris Kreider. So I'm
That's
like, this is
cool, man.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a freshman in college. I'm playing with two guys that everyone's talking about going to the NHL. Had an okay freshman year. Sophomore and junior year, might have did a little bit too much partying and still like was kind of like, oh, I don't know what else I would do in life if I didn't play hockey. So like, should I go to class more or do I really focus on being a hockey player? And then I had a really bad injury my junior year, and the doctor was like, yeah, you are never going to play hockey ever again. Like, this was your last game. And at the time, I was all drugged up from surgery that I didn't know what he was saying. My dad was like, no, he needs to play hockey. Like, sorry. So like from that moment on, I think was kind of like an eye-opening experience for me, being like, all right, stop being an idiot off the ice, focus more. Like if you really want to do something that you tell yourself every day that this is your ultimate job, you got to kind of focus more. So I started doing all the right things that everyone talks about, eating the right way, training the right way, making serious sacrifices to be a good player. And I came back my senior year and got to play with Johnny Gaudreau, and we put on an absolute
Amazing.
show.
You had like
So
72 points or
yeah,
something
it was
like that.
crazy.
You had
It
a
was
crazy year,
insane.
especially
So
college,
but
right?
even
Like,
before then, like college, you only played 30 games.
yeah, I mean
It's
that's
That's
insane amount
insane,
of
it's
points.
wild. And like I always wanted to go to the NHL because it's just an easy path. I played hockey my whole entire life. Every kid wants to go to the NHL.
Yeah.
But honestly, I don't think until my senior year of college where I was like, all right, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, and hopefully it works out.
That's
Yeah.
amazing, actually. Because I
so,
read
like-
somewhere that you said like it was like the worst, best thing that
Exactly.
ever happened to you.
Like I had 4
It's
surgeries.
scary.
4 surgeries, eh?
Yeah.
What
and,
was
like,
the actual? It was a knee on your.
compartment syndrome? Yeah. And like my knee blew up, and they couldn't do surgery because it was so swollen. So they had to release it, and then they had to take all the fascia out of my
Is
leg.
it like the old Cam Neely?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
major.
and then like that happened on February 26th, and the next time I skated for the first time was my first senior year practice. And even my coach was like, you can probably find it in an interview. He was like, just because Kevin's a good guy, we're gonna let him on the team. Like we don't think he's gonna help our team this year. And then all of a sudden,
72
yeah,
points
it was-
later.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's
it was a fun
insane.
year though.
Oh, national championship.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
that must
Yeah.
have been
It was
awesome.
It was awesome. We had a line. It was me, Gaudreau, and this kid Bill Arnold, and we were like scoring at will.
Yeah.
Like before that, it was literally like my Hollywood ages. Like when I would score 6-7 goals a game when I was younger.
Yeah.
That's what college felt like my senior year. Like we'd show up to the rink and all like the young kids would just be praying that they were on our team for practice because they would just
Oh,
get
yeah.
exposed every day. Yeah.
So that was your
Yeah.
drafter then.
No, my draft year was in high school, but like I was drafted by the Hawks. But even the
Oh.
Hawks, like they weren't happy with me. Like they were like, we took you in the first round and
Yeah.
you're not progressing, and you scored 1 5-on-5 goal your sophomore year. Like
Wow.
what's
okay.
going on here? And
PP?
so, yeah, like,
Power
yeah.
play? Yeah.
And so like I was gonna leave after my junior year just to kind of get a change of scenery because
Right.
sometimes that works for kids. Like if a coach doesn't like you or you're not playing well, you go to a new team and all of a sudden you're just way better. And then that injury happened. I was gonna leave after my junior year, go play in Rockford and figure it out from there. Injury happened, couldn't leave, came back senior year and became a free agent.
Wow.
Yeah.
That worked out for you.
Yeah,
Wow.
worked out well.
So what was it like coming from New York and the rivalry against Philly?
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
it
then,
was
you know, suiting up.
Yeah, on that side
was
of it.
cool,
'cause
yeah.
we always see
Exactly.
the Flyer side.
Yeah, but even like before that, like going from Boston to New York, like all my buddies were like,
Right.
"What the hell are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
you go to any
Yeah.
team." They were like, "Why don't you go to the Bruins?" I'm like, "Listen, you don't understand. Like, you go to a team where you think you're gonna play.
Right.
Like, the AHL is a great league, but like the main goal as a player is to spend as little time as possible in the AHL. Like,
Right.
no one wants to
Yeah.
like
Slug
you know
on the
what I mean?
jungle that
Exactly.
long. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like I met with my agent, we figured it out. We narrowed it down to a couple of teams and ultimately chose New York. And it worked out. I made the team. AV was my coach, and it worked out well. But playing the Flyers, it was always I knew nothing about Philly besides the fans because it was always a primetime game, Saturday, or
Right,
yeah,
Sunday
that's
at
true,
1 or
yeah.
2 every
Mhm.
year,
Yep.
2 or 3 times a year. So we would train in at like I don't know 5:30 the night before, go to dinner, go to bed, wake up, and then you have that weird like lunch or breakfast. Should I eat before the game?
Yeah.
1 o'clock game, and then you're home in New York by 7 p.m. So like I knew absolutely nothing besides how crazy these fans were. Like they were the only fans that would be screaming and swearing at you coming out of the locker room, like
Oh yeah.
of the whole
Yeah.
league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's all I knew about Philly. And then I remember I got traded here. Chuck Fletcher picked me up, kind of drove me around the city, and that's like the first time I actually got to know the city. And then I signed here like 5 days later.
Yeah. It's fun. It's fun to hear like the other side from like, because I know in Philly, like, especially when I first got here, and even now, like that's a rivalry.
Oh, yeah.
You get jacked up for it, but it used to be ugly.
Yeah.
Like it could get ugly. It's cool to hear
In
from
my
that side
5
of it.
years, I think we had one really, really ugly game. It was at MSG where there was like 6 or 7 fights.
Yeah.
And it was funny. Like, the benches are right next to each other, and Raffle is sitting there. He's like, "Hey Hazy, do you want to go next shift?" And I'm like, I haven't fought in the league yet. The only guy that's ever challenged me is Ryan Getzlaff. I can't fight.
Oh, you
that
can't
guy."
find Getz.
Yeah.
No,
So I'm
no.
like, I look down, and Raffle's best friends at Michael Grabner, the other Austrian
sure,
guy in the
yeah.
league, and I'm like, "Hey, Grabs, is Raff tough?" And he's like, "I wouldn't fight him." I'm like, "Yeah, hey, I'm all set. No, thanks, but no thanks." And there's like 4 fights going on right now. He's like, "Next shift?" I'm like, "Yeah, no thanks." See ya."
I'm good.
Raph.
Oh, that's classic.
That's
He's strong.
awesome.
He's strong at
Oh,
Ralph.
yeah.
Yeah, he is.
He's a moose.
Yeah.
Well, that Grabner's just ripped to shreds.
Yeah,
He's
they probably work
jacked.
out together.
Yeah.
I want to check their waters.
Well,
before
that's
they
what
go
I
in.
always say to
Yeah,
him. Like, coming back in,
exactly.
like he needs a break at Christmas to refuel. You know, we always bust his chops about it. So you're in New York, you're playing there, you get traded to Winnipeg. Sorry, Riggs.
The Peg.
You go to the Peg from the NYC, man. Like,
Yeah.
not saying anything bad about Winnipeg, bro,
Yeah.
but like, it's what a difference.
Well,
No,
country.
it's.
I mean,
it's
It had to
tough.
be
Like,
different.
I loved my time there. It was very short. It couldn't be more opposite than New York City. Like, honestly,
Yeah.
there couldn't be a place in the NHL that's more opposite.
Yeah, right.
Like, I remember I got
It's so
traded there, and Nate Bollier gets traded there too, but he came from Buffalo. He's like, "Oh, I love it."
Oh, it's great.
I'm like, "What do you mean you love it?"
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking
Yeah.
about?
Well,
Like,
you
what
can't
part?
go walk
Like,
for
exact-
coffee, or you can't. I mean,
And like, it's insane. I'm like, this is just, it's just so
freedom.
different.
yeah,
Like, it's almost, I don't want to say rude because that just makes Winnipeg look worse than it is. But like, it's rude to go send someone from New York City to Winnipeg. Like, it's
rude.
it's just like it's just so different.
Culture shock.
You walk out of your front door and you're in Times Square, or you're doing something memorable every single day outside of the rink in New York
Yeah.
City, and then you go to Winnipeg. I didn't leave my apartment.
Yeah, you're shoveling yourself
Yeah,
out of the door
exactly.
every
yeah.
morning.
In April,
Yeah.
But then,
shoveling.
that's the social part of it. But the hockey part is incredible.
Oh yeah, right.
Like,
They love their hockey.
it's
there.
insane.
Yeah.
It's one of my coolest NHL moments happened my first shift in Winnipeg. I'm there. We're playing against the Wild, and I'm centering line A in Ehlers, and we're second line, so we're second shift up. And I hop over the boards, and Minnie just dumped it in, so it's a full 10-guy change. And I step on the ice, and all of a sudden the whole crowd stands up and starts clapping. And I'm like, this is like, okay, what's going on? Like, I'm trying to look around. And I loop in, I get a puck pass to me, and then they start going wild. I'm like, holy shit, these people are standing up for me. Like, this
Oh,
is
that's awesome.
insane. Like, that wouldn't happen at MSG. Like, MSG is a great building. It's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
most historic building in the world. But like, they live and die
Yeah,
Winnipeg Jets
They
hockey.
feel so
Yeah.
connected to their players.
It's
that-
great. And then the playoffs.
yeah.
The
Oh,
whiteout
the whiteout is
is
Oh, that's
insane.
cool, man.
insane. So two of my favorite moments, top like 5 moments in NHL happened in Winnipeg.
Wow.
Like, it's a really cool. And then like, I go, you know how they have the underground city there?
Yeah, sure.
So I go to Starbucks. I'm living in the Fairmont, that hotel.
Mhm.
And I go to Starbucks, and I'm sitting there just having a coffee by myself. And some guy's like, "Are you Kevin Hayes?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, you mind if I sit down with you?" I'm like, "Fuck me." Like, I'm like, "Yeah, my mom's coming soon." My mom's not in Winnipeg, but I'm like, "Yeah, she's on her way here." He's like, "Oh, I'll just sit here until she comes." I'm like, "Okay, sounds good." And he starts like dissecting our power play to me over coffee. I'm like, "This is just a fan."
Yeah,
Like,
right.
and so I'm like, "Oh my God, these people live and die hockey."
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, "Oh, my mom needs my help. I got to go." So I leave. I stop in the convenience store. I've only been there for like 4 days now. And I stop in the convenience store to like pick up like toothpaste or something. And the guy in front of me is like, "Yeah, I went," not talking to me. He's literally just in front of me paying. He's like, "I went to the Jets game last night." And the cashier is like, "Oh yeah, we got that new kid, Hayes." And they don't know I'm behind him.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, "Yeah, he doesn't skate well. He passes too much." And I'm like, "Holy shit!" Like,
Picking your
this
game
wouldn't
apart.
happen. Like, this wouldn't happen in Winnipeg. Like, you know, because it wouldn't happen in New York.
In New York,
'cause,
no.
like,
Right.
There's so many
People
other
aren't paying.
things.
Yeah, too many other
Exactly.
things they're not paying attention.
So like, it was really cool to be there and,
Yeah.
and to like have that Canadian market
No, for sure.
I mean, they probably don't love me in Winnipeg because I didn't really help the team that much. I got
You
sent
played
there
20
to
games. How many games there?
I think I was there for like 16 before the playoffs,
Right.
and then, but I mean, it was cool moments.
Yeah.
And it's cool there because they're like a tight knit group in that locker room.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a lot else to do, especially when it's cold there.
Oh yeah.
You spend so much time together, but yeah, it was definitely different than Philly and New York, for sure.
Well, I remember obviously the day you came in, I met you over at
Yeah.
the center with Chuck and a couple other people, and I think it's your personality anyway. But like I felt like I knew you already.
Yeah.
Like literally when I left there, I'm like, this guy's unbelievable. And then in saying that, like I just felt like right away when you joined the team, it was like you'd been there.
Yeah.
It felt like to us you had been there.
Yeah, no, I
Like-
actually had that same question asked to me. They were like, "How is it being a new guy in the team like a month in?" And I was like, honestly, I was like a little nervous at the beginning, but like 4 or 5 days in, like the group that they have here in Philly it's unbelievable. The core group that they have here, and one of the hardest things about going to a new team, and you sign such a long-term deal for a lot of money, like guys are probably gonna be like, "Oh, this kid better be really good, or you better be a good guy." And the hardest thing is like fitting into the on ice situation.
Right.
And for me, it was the easiest because AV was my coach for 5 years
That's
in New York. So that part I had no stress about. So my only stress was kind of like, all right, how are these guys gonna like me? Do I be myself right away? Do I kind of let the older guys? And I remember AV and Chuck not didn't grab me together, but like different meetings were like, hey, we think you're a great player, but we know your personality. Like we really want you to really buy in right away. And in my head, I'm like, paying me a ton of money, I might as well like really invest myself. And literally from day one, the guys probably were annoyed with me because I didn't shut up from day one. But now I feel like I've been there for 5 years.
Yeah, right. That's what it seems like when
It's
you
crazy.
talk to people.
Yeah.
I've told a lot of people this. Like, so when Scott Hartnell got moved, we kind of lost something in the room. And when you came, it was like I said to even the guys would say, like that's like
Yeah.
you're like heartsy,
Yeah.
like a lot of like when to have fun,
Yeah.
when to bust balls, but when it's time to go, you're also ready to go,
Yeah.
and that's huge for a team, and that's huge in the locker room, man. Like even when you're coming out before the game, and you got all the nicknames you're giving everybody, which is so great. It was huge for the team, man, and I think that's why we had a great start, and obviously you guys had a great run. I wasn't unfortunately there for all of it, but it was a lot of fun, and you fit right in, man. It was
like
awesome.
for me though, it's in any workspace, like whether it's you guys, like if you're having fun, it's way easier to show up and try hard.
That's the
And
truth.
if you have a connection with your team, like yeah, it sucks to let the fans down, to let your coaches down, but there's no worse feeling than to like look at someone across in the locker room and you're like, fuck, I didn't give it my all tonight. Like
Yeah.
that's embarrassing.
Yeah.
And when everyone's having so much fun, it's just so much easier to just go out there and give it your all every night. And
Yeah.
that's what I try to do.
Yeah, well, it shows, man, for sure.
Yeah. With when you talk about the locker room, and there's obviously some other funny characters in there, and you're obviously one of them. Like who comes to mind like right away when you talk about
I mean, Jake's a huge personality.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
He
And
is
then even
funny.
when I showed up here, like when you play against a team so much, like we're in the Metro and I was in New York, you kind of put personalities to people you don't know, just how the way they play.
Sure,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
I'm guilty for that.
like you're like, oh, I hope that guy's a bad guy because I hate him.
Yeah,
right,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like, and then I show up here. I'm like, the only two guys I think I'm gonna have a problem with this year is Konechny and Scott Lyon, because I hate them on the ice. I'm like, there's no way these two guys can be good guys.
Always
Like they just
They're
can't
just
be
good
guys.
chirpers,
They
man.
can't. Like no one on the team can like them. They just have no friends. I know it.
right.
And I show up, and it's like the two guys I love the most.
Mm.
Like it's TK and Sandy. They have their relationship.
Oh my
Lawton
God,
and
it's
Raffle. Like
unbelievable.
the team has a bunch of funny guys.
Yeah.
I wish that everyone could be mic'd up and really
Oh.
get to see the personalities. But we have a good group. The locker room is pretty chill and fun until it really needs to be serious. And then you have G, who likes to fuck around and stuff, but he's also the captain and knows when to be serious. So he
Yeah.
kind of sets the tone. And then you have like me and Jake that kind of keep it light and
Yeah.
work hard, but keep it light as
Yeah.
well.
You got to have those roles
Yeah,
for sure. It's
exactly.
the glue, man.
Yeah.
For sure.
Get
Get a little more serious. Like I've read somewhere that you consider yourself a 200-foot player, and you like said it several times. I mean, you might have answered your question already when you talked about your injury there. But when did you realize that like you had to play that way? You weren't just a skilled guy, putting up numbers in college. And
Yeah,
you had to,
probably not until I got to the NHL.
Okay.
Honestly, with AV,
Okay.
I was in college on the power play on the half wall. Didn't step on the PK my whole career. Um, I show up to AV, and it's when the coach puts the lines on the board before the game, like these are the 4 lines. This is the 10 power play guys. This is the 6 power play forwards.
Yes.
And you only see your name on the 4th line left side. You're like, oh, what am I doing here? Like, I'm not in the power play. I'm not in the PK, and I'm playing 4th line center. Like, this is a shot to my ego. I'm usually running the half wall and getting like 10 chances a night. And I remember meeting with AV, and I'm like, what can I do to get my name on the right side of the board where those guys like to have fun over there? And he's like, you got to play the right way. Like, everyone tells me how good of an offensive guy you are, and you have 8 points so far. Like, what's going on here? Where's the offense coming? And that's when I kind of bought into being a good 200-foot player. And I watched a lot of film. I remember watching a bunch of stuff on like Kopitar. I mean, he's
For
elite,
sure. Yeah.
Oh wow.
but he's an easy guy to watch. Rick Nash,
Yeah.
Eric Stahl, like those guys are all stars. And it's funny because you're watching film and trying to learn, but then you're playing against those guys every night. I was lucky enough to play with Nasher and Eric Stahl, and those are like in my combine. Say rewind 6 years earlier. I'm in my combine meetings. They're like, "Oh, who do you play after?" I'm like, "Oh, Rick Nash and Eric Stahl." And now they're in my dressing room. Like, this is amazing. But yeah, I would say my second half of my first year is when I really bought into playing the right way. And I owe a lot of it to AV. It's funny because he's my coach now, but
Yeah.
and will be for a long time.
Yeah.
But I definitely owe a lot to him. And then when I come here, I didn't know much about Coots either. He's younger
What a
than me,
player,
but I
man.
still
Yeah.
watch film of him. Like, he's unbelievable.
Yeah.
He's the 200-foot player right now. Him and a couple other guys in the league. But yeah, I mean, for everyone that's like trying to be like the right player in the locker room, it's way more fun in the locker room when you're dependent on all the situations. And the sooner you realize that, the sooner you can get better at it, and the sooner you just feel better about yourself
Yeah.
as a player.
Such a good message for young
Yeah.
up and coming hockey players.
It's
'Cause
fun scoring all the goals.
Yeah, everyone
It
loves
is.
to score
Yeah.
goals. I mean,
I hate when like reporters are like, "Oh, your stats aren't great this year." I'm like, "Yeah, I want to score 82 goals this year. Like, our 4th liners want to score 82 goals this year. It's not going to happen. Like,
Yeah.
you gotta
But we've won
realize
9
that.
in a row.
Yeah,
yeah,
so-
exactly right.
Yeah, and but yeah, the sooner you realize you can help the team out in many ways besides scoring, and it's tough to be the best player on your team when you're younger, go to a new team, and all of a sudden you're not the best player, but
Yeah.
you can bring other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt.
And
And-
Scott Lawton had that kind of situation where
Yeah.
he was in the NHL, but kind of in between,
Yeah.
and he had to go down for
yeah, he came back down to
for
the
you. You were
Phantoms there,
coaching, yeah, and
swallow the pride pill a little
It
bit and be like,
sucks,
this is
but-
what this is the
but
only
it
way I'm
cha-
going
I
to
mean,
stay.
And then you
He's-
can like swallow it and be like, "Oh, that coach is an asshole,"
yeah,
but like he's not an asshole.
Yeah.
right.
There's just guys that do other things.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there's nothing sexy about playing. You know what I mean? Having to do the extra grunt work and
Yeah.
back checking extra. You know what I
Exactly.
mean, everyone wants to score the goals,
Yeah.
especially when you're younger. It's just like it just comes so naturally for
Yeah.
most guys that
Yeah.
again you have to change the way you think and
Yeah.
play because otherwise you're going to be
Quicker
that
you do it,
suitcase.
The better you'll be off.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
kidding.
Uh,
I know you have ties in Boston, New York, and Philly. Do you have any charity work that you do that ties you back in the community?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, my skates, the CG on my skates and
Yes.
stuff. I'm still using the same skates.
I was going to bring that up.
This is
too. We'll
year,
bring that up
this
after.
is year 3.
Yeah,
But no, just a foundation back home, Corey Griffin Foundation. It's they build a house next to the hospital back home in Boston for kids who can't really celebrate Christmas because they're sick, and that's one part of it. And then the other part is to provide an easier way for inner city kids to get into sports teams and to get into schools. And unfortunately, Corey passed away, but his legacy lives on through this foundation, and it's a huge foundation back at home. And so I raised money for that. And then this year when I came to Philly, I did HAYES Heroes for first responders. Every night, 2 first
That's
responders
awesome.
get to come to a game, and I meet them after and give them a puck or a
Yeah.
stick and chat with them for a couple minutes. And it seems like it's going good.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I'm sure
Yeah.
they're loving that.
Yeah.
It's important stuff. The first responders
Yeah,
probably don't get the
exactly.
love that they need.
No,
and,
not at all.
they
Those-
deserve.
what they deserve. That's
They don't get paid enough, and
Yeah,
they don't
no,
get
that's the truth,
enough
yeah.
recognition for what they do. And I have a bunch of friends back home who are cops, and it's tough to do it back home because if you do it for one precinct and fucking 50 people in other precincts. They're like, well, why aren't you helping us? And
Right.
it's I try my best to help everyone. So I thought that this was the easiest way. So I guess firehouses and precincts their families can nominate them to become available for Hayes' Heroes. And I don't pick the winners or whatever. Someone in the media does, someone in the PR does, and reaches out to them. And two first responders show up to every game, and it's
awesome.
fun. It's
It's
fun to
awesome.
hear their
Yeah.
stories, and they feel they're grateful for it. I started that in New York when we went to the 9/11 museum. I don't know if you guys have been there in New York.
No.
We had a team building thing where we got a private tour of 9/11, and then a couple families that got affected by 9/11 talked to us in like a forum, and it was really cool. And literally, I remember walking to our PR guy, and I was like, I want to do something, I don't know what, to somehow help those families out. And so in New York, it was families affected by 9/11 who lost someone that's a first responder. Their families would come to the games, and I would meet them after. And then when I came to Philly, it just became first responders.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really good. Speaking about your equipment and your skates you've been wearing for 3 years.
Yeah.
So he comes in, well, actually I sent you a little bit of equipment.
Yeah.
So I sent him a pair of gloves, right? So we have 2 sets of gear. Well, the Flyers have 2 sets of gear when I was there, and you still do. But so he finally comes in, and he's got these skates, and I had a couple pairs of new skates. So, I don't think I'll be getting into those. And I'm like, well, how long you been wearing? Well, I wore these all last year. And I'm like, you don't wear a pair of skates more than a year, Meanwhile, Jake's changing every 2 days. But so we have 3 jerseys as well. So in all, we had 4 different helmets for the guys. And every day he's like, how many fucking helmets do we have here? Like, I don't. So then I put the orange gloves for the 3rd jerseys, right? And he's like, can you take my gloves back and forth every game? I'm like, dude, I didn't even do this for Pronger. Like, he's like, please, man, I'll make sure I put them in the bin. So anyway, we're kind of doing that, but so put the orange gloves out for him. And he's like, I can't wear those. I'm like, what? He's like, I'm gonna wear these gloves for the next couple of years, man. I'm like, no. We wear orange. You gotta have to wear them. They have the orange. So I literally put them on the Hydrock for like 30 minutes. I tape them, and these things, they look like they've been 10 years old at this point. And so and he's just like, I don't think I could do it, man. But anyway.
So I'm on year 3 of those skates. Year 2 of the gloves.
It's impressive.
It's comfort.
Yeah, right. It is
the gloves. I'll be willing. You got me to switch the palms out in the gloves.
Yeah,
that was a big step. Same gloves, just cut out the palms, which literally is a different glove.
Yeah.
In my head, mentally, they're the same ones. So
it blew my mind because the only other guy, like G, actually would try to get a full year out, but he eventually would change. But 3 years, man.
Yeah, that's insane.
Like, that's a
I think
slippery
I'm beyond. Yeah, I think I'm beyond like I'm so comfortable in these skates now that it'll take forever to get into. Like, that's how comfortable they are.
Yeah.
That's how worn down they are. They're disgusting. Like, you change the eyelets all the time.
Oh my
like,
God,
it's crazy.
Take another 3 years to break a new pair.
Exactly.
Oh man.
I was reading somewhere that you had your own beer named after you in Philly here.
Yeah, I don't know how that came about. I think Yards.
Yeah, sure.
So Bobby Had goes there a bunch, and I think Goody had his own beer there.
Did he?
The Radko Gudas beer or something. And I remember, like, I just scored a penalty, shorthanded goal. Next game, I scored another shorthanded goal, and then we win the next game. And I'm at the Yards Brew House there, in it's an old city, I think it's in.
Old city. Yeah.
And the guy Frank comes up to me, and he's like, "Hey, like, we're coming out with a new beer, and it's like a hazy IPA, which I guess is like an HAZY, like it's a type of IPA." He's like, "Your last name's Hayes. You're playing great. The city loves you. Like, do you mind if we do it like with your name on it and stuff?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't care. I don't need any money. Don't worry about it." And it actually was like a huge thing. It sold out like in a couple of days. They started selling hats and T-shirts. So it's called like the Big Hazy.
The Big Hazy.
Yeah, the Big Hazy.
Pretty good. They're heavy,
awesome.
but I wouldn't drink too many of them. But they're pretty good.
That's good. Love the name.
And that was the Manscaped moment of the show. Support for Nasty Knuckles is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their technology developments to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience. Guys, I know you've all been there before. Maybe Riles hasn't because he's not always taking care of himself, but when you're trimming your balls and you cut yourself, it's not a great feeling. It stings. There's blood everywhere. Just not a whole lot of fun. That's why Manscaped has designed this electric trimmer. The Manscaped engineering team spent 18 months perfecting the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created and just released the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0. Hazy, by the look of your face, I'm just hoping that you've taken care of the rest of yourself. This is probably going to be for you. The third generation trimmer features a cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to advanced skin safe technology pioneered by Manscaped. When I tell you this is premium, I mean premium. The battery will last up to 90 minutes so you can take a longer shave. The waterproof technology allows you to groom in the shower. One of the coolest features is the LED light, which illuminates grooming areas for a closer and more precise trimming. They've also upgraded a 7,000 RPM motor with quiet stroke technology.
That's
That
7,000
stroke,
RPMs.
7,000. That's a lot, boys. And let's not forget about the charging stand. Show your mower off loud and proud because this intelligently designed stand is a convenient charging dock powered by USB. If you're listening to me speak right now, I want you to experience it firsthand for yourself. Trim that junk of yours, Hazy. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code KNUCKLES at manscaped.com. Trust me, your balls will thank you. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code KNUCKLES at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code KNUCKLES. So the bubble, you've heard some people talk about what was it like?
Yeah, it was different. It was like a high class prison, a nice high class prison.
Well said.
Yeah. We had the same schedule every single day, and we were fenced in by these like huge black fences. We were lucky of the 4 bubbles that were in the playoffs. We had the best one by far. We had 2 pools, tennis courts, basketball court, ping pong, 3 restaurants. We got to use the BMO Field in Toronto, which was Toronto FC, I think their soccer name is.
Yeah.
So that was available for us, so we could just go hang out there, play spike ball, bocce ball, frisbee, or whatever. These other bubbles didn't even have AC, I heard, which
Oh,
is
really?
which is
boy.
insane. Yeah,
Hard
like
to
in
believe.
Edmonton, the AC kind of went out. I heard. Yeah, and so it wasn't for me. I don't have any kids, so it wasn't too bad. I feel bad for the guys that have wives and kids
Yeah,
and
that's
stuff.
tough,
Yeah,
right?
it's a long time. Man.
Yeah, it's probably took a toll on them more than me. I got to hang out with the guys, so I was pumped.
So
Yeah,
Provy said
exactly,
Ivan
like,
was
it
on,
was-
and he said it was for me. It was like going to hockey camp.
exactly.
You know?
It was we got paid to go to hockey camp. It did get old for sure, but then you get more important games as it's getting older.
Yeah.
So it gets more exciting
Right.
while getting old off the ice. But no, overall, it's a good experience. Something that we can all say we were part of. Hopefully, it never happens again.
Yeah, no
I hope
kidding.
so, yeah.
But yeah, it was fun. You wake up in the morning, you go to practice, you get to do your COVID testing every day. Can't leave until you get the thing up your nose. Get on the bus, go to the beginning. It was crazy. It was a legit kids camp. Like there was 4 arenas, but there was how many teams? 12 teams were
Yeah.
there, I think. So 4
Yeah,
arenas,
12.
3 teams got nominated to each arena. If you were the 3rd team that day, the ice was complete shit.
Oh,
Couldn't even
God,
shoot.
Think of that.
But like but everyone had to do it eventually. If you
Yeah,
were
right.
3rd on day 1, you were 1st the next day. So everyone kind of was in the same boat. And the weirdest thing probably was the first preseason game when you go out, there's not a single person in the crowd
it's gotta be
for
so
warm ups. Like warm ups are fun. You get to mess around with your teammates, mess around with you, and you see everyone going crazy in the crowd, and that was non-existent. Like it was really weird. Like you could literally hear the other team's conversation
Yeah.
during the 3 line drills. Like that was weird. But then as it got going, like, our first 3 games they were serious, but it wasn't do or die. We were in 4th place going into it.
You could only go
if
better.
we lost all 3 games, we were still in 4th place. We won all 3 games and went to 1st place.
Mhm.
Those games weren't as high intense as the other games, but it was a nice little like way to kind of get into it. And then once the playoffs started, it was electric. Honestly, the fans would have made it better. Obviously, like anything, if people are watching you, it's more fun. But yeah, every game got more and more intense. And then you get to game 7 of the second round, and you're 1 game away from the conference finals.
Yeah.
But no, I would say it was overall it was a fun situation, a fun experience. I had fun. I became a gamer again. Still am. So
Yeah.
played Xbox every day.
Yeah.
Unlimited surf and turf.
Exactly,
High
yeah.
end prison.
Yeah, high
Yeah,
end.
like, it was a nice high end, really fancy prison.
Now,
right.
did you see Rod Brendamore out there working out on the field?
Yeah.
Did you go stand beside him, take your shirt
No,
off?
not me.
I was just making sure.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think anyone would.
But
And
again, it was weird too. Like so the BMO field was in our bubble, but the other bubble was allowed to come hang out at the BMO. So it was weird. Like, I don't know, you just played the Montreal Canadiens in game 1 and there was a couple fights and everyone tensions were running high, and then the next day you have a day off and they're on the same soccer field as you. Like, obviously we're in a day where nothing's gonna happen, but it's still awkward.
Yeah,
Like,
it is.
yeah, for sure.
like they're right there, and then we go to dinner in the BMO and they're right next to us. It's just something that would never happen if it wasn't COVID, obviously. But
Right.
so it was weird kind of seeing them, and they weren't in the Islanders were in our actual hotel the second round. So like I'm in line getting coffee before the game, and there's just 3 guys in the Islanders in front of me. Like, it's just like, oh, see you on the ice in
Yeah, right.
3
It's so
hours.
different.
Yeah,
isn't it?
exactly.
We'll go at it soon.
Yeah. And like TK just runs his mouth. I'm sure the bubble wanted to kill him the whole
No,
time
I'm
he
sure.
was there. I'm sure Patty Maroon wanted them dead one night. Like, yeah, it was funny.
How's it been leading up to the season this year with like protocols and?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, my life didn't change too much. We have a good group back in Boston. We had access to a gym and ice. So there's like 15 of us that play in the NHL that live around town.
Nice.
So my life kind of was the same. Played golf and worked out and skated pretty much every day. And then I came back here a week before camp started to do the quarantine. Everyone seems like they're in pretty good shape. So
They miss a beat.
no.
Beautiful.
Well, I was gonna say it kind of goes to what you were saying about TK and Lots, but you scored a big overtime goal in Columbus. I was unfortunately not there, but obviously watching. And you turn and you give the belt, which I love. But the funny part of it is the boys are coming to celebrate with you. TK,
yelling.
he could care less about hugging you. He's chirping to whoever you beat, you know. Yeah, so yeah, exactly. He's just giving it. You just see everyone's like so excited hugging him, and he's just got her going. Oh, I laughed my ass off.
We'll be playing against guys that I played with in New York that are now on different teams. And like I remember McDonough, we're in the prelims, like before the real playoffs start, but what was that, the round robin that we played in? And TK just running his mouth the whole game, and McDonough, like, not even yelling at TK, skates out to me. He's like, "Does this kid ever shut up? Like, is he what's wrong with him?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Man, you would love him if you got to know
Yeah,
him."
right.
Because I was McDonough
Yeah.
before I met TK.
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah, you
oh my
wanna kill
God,
him.
this fucking kid. But it's just funny to like now be on this side of it, like him and Lion.
Oh
I
yeah.
can only imagine what guys are
Yeah.
thinking about both of them. Yeah.
Even when we played the outdoor game in Philly here in 2019, he was mic'd. Well, a lot of guys are mic'd.
Yeah.
You know how those games are. And someone on the Penguins, I'm not sure who it was because it doesn't really show, but someone on their bench goes, "God, shut up!"
Yeah.
He just the whole game.
Yeah.
He's just
It's relentless.
And I used to love it. I'd laugh
yeah.
my ass off because he
And
just get under people's
the
skin.
better
They
he
wanna kill the
plays,
little guy. Yeah,
the
yeah,
more he
exactly. He
chirps.
gets more
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that's awesome.
All right, that interview was brought to you by Settlemyre Skate Sharpening. For all your hockey needs, visit settlemyreskatesharpening.com, and also Body Check Wellness. For all your CBD and functional mushroom products, check out bodycheckwellness.com. Want to thank Kevin Hayes for hopping on Nasty Knuckles podcast and sharing some of his story with us. He was awesome. What an amazing story, and wanted to reflect on the fact that he had essentially a career-ending injury in college and landed up rehabbing from it, and not only rehabbing from it, almost flourishing as a hockey player. And as he describes it, it was the best, worst thing that had ever happened to him. You know, what a guy. I mean, Nas, you were in the locker room with him. Why don't you talk a little bit about Hazy and his character and how he's evolved as not just a hockey player, but as a human?
He was, I think we talked about it a little bit. He was what I felt like the team was missing. Obviously, there's some funny individuals on that team, great group of guys, but it just seemed to be the glue that brought everything together. It was so much fun, seriously, daily, just him walking in the rink. he's always happy. And he said, thinking back to when he was told he probably will never play hockey again, he enjoys every day being at the rink. And you can tell because he is fun. He makes everybody laugh. He makes everybody feel good. He knows when it's time to, buckle down and play. But it's so much fun to have a guy like that, and it reminded me of Scott Hartnell. Hartsey was always like that. And I kind of compared them last year to that. I just loved him. He was a treat every day. He was, like I said, always happy, always positive. And it was like he'd been there, it was like he had been on that team for the last 5 years. That's how when he walked into that room that first day, it was like, okay, this guy belongs here, it was fun. He was just a lot of fun to be around. And you could see in the interview, he's just such a good person. He's got a big heart. He does a lot of things for people and he's a hell of a hockey player. And we were kidding around with him. I don't remember him when he played with the Rangers against us holding the puck the way he does, almost keep away. He does it a lot now.
Yeah.
I'm sure he did, but I feel like now, I don't know, confidence, just becoming a better player. You could probably speak on that. I've never played at a high level, obviously, but he's just a hell of a player, man. I mean, what a signing for the Flyers.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, I can't really compare myself to Kevin Hayes and hanging on to the puck in the corner, but I know what you're talking about. It's definitely a confidence thing, right? I mean, as you grow older and you grow into your own and you find more of an established role, I think he's a perfect example of a 200-foot player that really understands both ends of the game and is flourishing on the offensive side of things. But he's a great overall signing. There's no question. Like you said, he's the glue. He's a character guy. The mood, right? I mean, the vibe of a player is so important. We've all seen guys that come in the rink angry in the morning. Yeah. It's like, what type of guy are we getting today? To have a guy that you always know what you're going to get when he comes in the locker room, and like you said, the glue. Keeps it loose, but is there to bring the team together and in clutch moments. He's there. But he also talked about that again, that 200-foot game and the fact that he never learned that part of it until he was in the NHL under AV in New York there, and he wants more playing time, wants more minutes. And AV was obviously honest with him and saying, guess what? You can't just be an offensive guy. And he wasn't even putting up big numbers at that time. You got to play the 200-foot game. You got to be good, in all areas of the ice. And obviously he's accepted the challenge and he's improved his game. And now that's what he takes pride in. So it's really awesome to see someone evolve like that, again, from a really bad injury and evolve. Putting your ego aside, and you can't just be that go-to offensive guy all the time. Changing your role, it's impressive. I think for young kids, looking up to NHL players, I mean, he'd be a good one to look up to for many reasons. Fighting through the adversity and changing his game and being a good coachable player. I mean, I love the guy. I never played with him, but just from meeting him a couple of times and his feeling his vibe and seeing how he plays the game.
Yeah. He's amazing. Like I said, it's one of the things I really miss about, not being there anymore was a guy like him. He made it every day. You're like, oh, I can't wait till Hazy. Well, it sounds cheesy, but you're like, you can't wait to see the guy. It makes you laugh. He, makes you feel good. And he does it to everyone, So, every team, you love having guys like that, man. It's just like you said, it helps everything. It's nice. You're not worried. How's this guy going to come in today? Hazy comes in smiling ear to ear, funny. He's got something to say. I loved getting to work with him for, a little bit of time anyway. And Riles, I was thinking, you don't want to really compare yourself to him. I've seen you do things on the ice when you played, dude, for a guy to get a pass, and you're coming in the puck ends up in 2. That's impressive. I've seen you chop a puck right in half. Stick handling.
So, are you sure?
Guys are fucked up on the ice because there's 2 pucks. No, Riggs
That's why
was stick handling.
And that's why the stick was always in the air, never stick on puck, and I was in kill mode. You know,
Yeah,
I knew I needed to do. Handling the puck is not one of those things, but yeah, it's tough to compare me hanging on to the puck in the corner like old Hazy or Yogs or anybody.
Yeah.
You
never tried it. I think you could.
Never tried it. I never gave it the old college try. I think if I would have a little bit more on playing hockey, I may have been able to handle the puck a little bit more. But
there was
10 Sudafeds later and pots of coffee. It's hard to manage the puck and be composed.
It is. It definitely is, and it reminds me a little bit of story. My dad, Sudsy Settlemyre, was a trainer for a long time with the Flyers, and when Keenan was coaching, he was really hard on the European guys. And Ilka Sinisalo, who was a great player, God rest him, passed away a couple of years ago. Ilka didn't care what Mike was saying, and he just would give it back to him. And I think Mike liked it, but
yeah, I think he did. Yeah.
So a quick story about him. It just reminded me of you. He's sitting Ilka on the bench, and you got a power play, and everybody's like, he's putting Ilka out on the power play. It's tie game. My dad's telling me the story. It's tie game. So Keenan comes over and he's like pushing on Ilka a little bit. Can you score a goal, Ilka? You think you can actually do something pretty hard from here, Mike? He's on the bench.
Right.
It was hard for you to hold the puck when you're on the bench sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Separating the D and the forwards,
It's just tough, man. The grocery stick.
Oh, yeah.
Hey.
It's tough to score, man, when you're sitting on the bench,
There's many people would love to be in that position. You worked your ass off to get there, and I'm just busting your chops, but pretty hard to do it when you're not out there as much as Hazy.
That's the truth, and thinking back too, it's like I remember times sitting on the bench, hadn't had a shift in maybe 25, 30 minutes. Sometimes I missed the second period, and then we're down like 3 or 4 goals in the third or something. And I was like, oh, hey, all right, Rouse, have your shifter now. It's like at that point, I'm like, do I really even want to go out? My legs are seized.
Nast, where's the oxygen tank?
Yeah, exactly. My legs are seized. My mind's totally out of the game at that point because it's usually in the early parts of the game is when you try and bring the energy and the whole bit. But it was a blessing to ever play one NHL game. I'm thankful for it all, and I wish I could have spent a little more time focusing on playing hockey. Maybe it would have extended my career a little bit, but all good. I'm happy with the way things turned out, and here we are. So
it's awesome.
Well, that pretty much wraps up episode 6 of Nasty Knuckles. Be sure to tune in next week for episode 7. See you later, knuckleheads.
See you, knuckleheads.